الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This is the second video related to the first video. In the previous video we talked about Mut'ah and this is related to it. It's called Muwaqqat والنكاح الموقت. So Muwaqqat is basically time defined. I've translated as a nikah that's defined by time. So والنكاح الموقت باطل. So a nikah that's muwaqqat for us, it's batil, it's invalid right from the outset. Right from the outset, it's invalid. For example, the Sheikh says, مثل أن يتزوج امرأة. Somebody marries a woman. Now it's interesting here that you have the word tazawwuj. Can you see? Tazawwuj. Whereas in the previous example, the word wasn't mentioned. He basically said, can I benefit from you? So here he says he marries a woman and he also has two witnesses. بِشَهَادِ شَاهِدَيْنِ. So you have two things here which weren't present in Nikah Mut'ah. So it's slightly different. The reason Imam Marghinani, I think, has brought this is that somebody might think that only a particular type, which is the Mut'ah, is invalid. What if you had a Muwaqqat? What if you had a one that was time bound, which was similar or replicating Muwaqqat? So this is why he's debating it here. This is why he's brought it here. So he says, for example, somebody says to a woman with witnesses, people are witnessing this contract. So it's not like Mut'ah in the sense that somebody just went to a woman and said, I want to benefit from you for a certain amount of time, for a certain amount of wealth, and it's a contract between them. This is actually almost like a nikah almost. But the only thing is it's a nikah muwaqqat. And he says, for example, 10 days. For us as Hanafis, we say that's batil, that's invalid from the day, from the moment you say it. There's no nikah at all. And we say here as well that, so I'll just skip this part here, I'll come back to this. Walana, we say, أنه أتى بمعنى المتعة. He has actually come with the meaning of mut'ah. It's in the meaning of mut'ah for all intents and purposes because mut'ah is muwaqqat. Mut'ah is to benefit from someone. And we say, and this is a really important principle that will help you a lot in usul, is that وَالْعِبْرَةُ. Let me see if I can highlight this. It's not letting me. We say that ibra in uqud, in transactions, is in the meaning. What's actually happening, right? So what's actually going on here? And what's actually going on is essentially a mut'ah contract. So we say is batil from the outset. This is for us. ولا فرق بين ما إذا طالت مدة التأقيت أو قصر. It doesn't matter how long you say, for a short period, long period. لأن التأقيت هو المعين لجهة المتعة وقد وجد. And so in other words, the meaning of mut'ah is found. It doesn't matter if it's a short period, long period. The meaning of mut'ah is found. Imam Zufar has a slight different position, and I want you to reflect upon this, which is just mentioned here. He says the nikah is sahih, huwa sahihun. The nikah is sahih and is valid. And the nikah cannot be made invalid from a shart that's fasida. So for him, when you have an invalid contract, what will happen is, say for example, he said 10 days, right? After 10 days, he said to her that I'll marry you for 10 days. After 10 days, what happens is she becomes permanent. She becomes his wife. So after 10, then T10 and T infinity, whatever you want to call it, she becomes that person's wife anyway. So he says tawqeet is a shart fasida. We say no, it's a shart batila. And he says that tawqeeta shartun fasidun. It's invalid. To make this is invalid, but it doesn't affect the contract itself. Right? She'll just remain your wife. When nikah la yatul bi shurut al fasida, for him, nikah does not become batil through a shart fasida. Whereas we say is batil. Yeah, it only becomes bal yabtul shart. It only invalidates the shart. We say that nikah this is a meaning of mut'ah. Nikahu mut'ah ma'nan, in the meaning of mut'ah. وهو باطل بالآثار الواردة فيه. We talked about hadith of the Prophet ﷺ before in the previous video, and the same is here. فكذا هذا وذلك لأن المعنى متعة هو الاستمتاع بالمرأة مؤقتا. Because the whole point here is that you're trying to take benefit from a woman for a muwaqqat time, for a specific period of time, which is exactly the same thing as a mut'ah. لا لتحقيق مقاصد النكاح. You're not intending to marry her. This is really important. You're not, you have no intention of being married to that person. وهو حاصل هنا وإن ذكر لفظ النكاح. Even though he's used the word nikah, right, it doesn't matter because of this principle. This principle I've highlighted in yellow. لأن مقاصد النكاح لا تحصل في مدة معينة, because the purpose of nikah cannot be acquired in a fixed amount of time. The whole point of getting married is to have access, is to have children, responsibilities and duties, etc., etc. So this is important to bear in mind. Inshallah, I hope you found that useful. Very, very important usul qawaid to think about. If you found it useful, share some comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next.